Welcome to Work Hard. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Jason.
Now this is podcasting.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Work Hard. We have some lighting issues today. Sorry about that. I don't know if we'll edit that out or whatever. Just put
not now.
Yeah, not now. We'll put it in the
It's in there.
Whatever. Yeah, it's in there. Guys, welcome back. I have had too much nicotine today, so I'm all jittery. So I don't have like a good bit, unfortunately, to open us up with. Nothing funny. I'm really hoping you're going to bail me out, Jason.
I feel
What's
like our
going on,
second
dude?
episode that we record each time is always a slower start, but we're warmed up. And so the conversation flows easier. That's how I feel like. We come into the first one with a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And then the second one is a little more smooth, even though we're tired in the intro.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I feel like.
All right, brother, bail me out. What do you got going on, dude? Oh, tell me about what happened. Sunday, your car broke down. Tell me about
So
that.
yesterday we're leaving church, and it doesn't matter whether we try to leave early or not. We're always like the second to last person to leave.
Yeah.
So the parking lot's pretty much empty except for like one or two other families. And I go and start the car and nothing happens when I turn the key. I'm like, oh no. And so we're starting it, and I get the hood up and I'm looking at it, going like, what are all these parts in here? and
It seems to run on some form of electricity.
yeah, exactly. What is it, this or that? No. Try it again, honey.
You doing the hot rod thing where he's hitting the engine with a hammer?
With the hammer.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. No, just fixing this engine.
Yeah. Oh, what's up?
Yeah. Not quite that bad, but yeah. It feels like that when you're hungry, because, it's like 12:30 at this point, and I'm ready for lunch.
Bro, Sunday afternoon hunger is delirium. It's the worst.
Do you know the, I don't know how they do it, but the Orthodox fast on Sunday mornings. My friend who's an Orthodox won't even drink coffee on Sunday morning.
Really?
Like, they break their fast after their worship service time.
Yeah.
With I think they have a potluck every week, which
Nice.
is
That's cool.
a phenomenal thing
Yeah.
that I think we should do.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. So they have
Yeah.
a big meal afterwards.
Yeah.
But I'm like, being hungry all the way through would definitely take some getting used to. Mm-hmm. That would be a trial. That is some spiritual grind.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten there yet.
The Orthodox do have that. They do have some spiritual grind.
They do, yeah. Give that to them.
I will give that to them. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll take the theology.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the car won't start. Kids are like, we're hungry. I was like trying to think about what might be wrong with the car and formulate a plan.
Yeah.
And I'm just like trying desperately not to lose my temper with him and be like, we're all hungry. You need to not mention it again. I have to think. My wife did a phenomenal job of being calm and cheerful with the kids and whatnot. Yeah. And suggesting things. Yeah. Do you want me to call my mom? It's like, hold on, just let me think for a second.
Yeah.
But anyway, the family who was about to pull out spotted me with the hood up and pulls over. And it happened to be it was Hunter and his family.
Oh, nice.
Who have
Okay,
a
cool.
newborn baby.
Yeah, yeah.
And like they're the ones who pull up.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh no, not the ones with the newborn
You
that
guys
need
have
to
to go
like
home.
you
You
guys
need to go
got to
home.
do something.
Yeah.
So anyway, but so he pulls up his hood, and we find a set of jumper cables because I was like, maybe it's the battery.
Yeah.
We had it checked out before a family vacation earlier this year, and they're like, your battery's kind of weak. I'm like, okay, yeah, well, I'll take care of that. I'm not going to pay you to replace the battery.
Yeah.
I can do that. That's simple, and we just haven't done it.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, did that just bite me, not getting it replaced this whole time? Turns out, long story short, it was not the battery. But anyway, he tries to jump it, and he's got a much newer minivan than we do.
Yeah.
And it's funny, he had his hood up, and we realized he was a little too far away to reach the jumper cables. So he gets into the car to move it, and I see him get in, and nothing happens. And I see him put his seatbelt on, and nothing happens. And then he like takes the seatbelt off and gets out of the car, comes around, he goes, my car is too safe. It wouldn't let him move without shutting the hood.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
Yes. He's like, what if I was getting robbed? Which I thought hilarious. I was like, yeah, what if you were getting robbed? You were in some sort of emergency and the car's like, it's not safe to move. You're like, a meteor is coming down.
Yeah.
I need to drive.
I need to go.
I see the twister coming.
Yeah.
Drive, car.
This is my car. I decide if it's
tell
safe or
you to
not.
move.
Yeah.
And it's
you
like,
do what I tell you.
No.
Yeah. Dude, hall monitor culture has got to end.
Yeah. So I think that was a good lead into our. That'll bleed into our main topic.
That will be leading. Yeah,
Hold on to that.
Yes, keep that.
But yeah,
Put a pin in it.
overly done safety features. Not to
Yes.
mention the battery terminal cables were extremely hard to reach in
course.
the car.
Yes.
It didn't spark, so I'm still not convinced we actually got it connected properly because it
Yeah.
never sparked on mine. I was like,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
it did anything, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a jump problem anyway. Finally, call my mother-in-law who drives from 45 minutes away. I'm debating whether or not to call one of the brothers to come help, but I was like, they're not going to be able to cart us all home anyway, so that's why I ended up calling my
You should
mother-in-law.
have called me. I definitely could have carted you all home.
Well, but then
That-
you'd be
dude,
driving way out of your way.
Bro,
She's already
my
on the way. Anyway,
eyes would have rolled back in my head. I would have been like, this is my time to shine, baby. It's time for the excursion. 11 people? No problem. Yeah. Whoa!
the kids would have loved that.
Yeah.
Anyway, probably would have cost you like $50 in gas.
I wouldn't have cared one bit, dude. I would have felt so happy I could have been helpful.
I'll call you next time my car breaks
Please
down.
call me next time, yes.
All right. But anyway, try the key a dozen different times. It never does anything, not even a click.
Yeah.
Finally, my mother-in-law gets there. We get all the car seats transferred over. The kids are completely loaded up in the car. I go to roll the windows up because I'm like, I don't know how long this thing's going to be here, or if it's going to rain in the car. And it didn't seem to be an electronic issue because the lights on the dash, everything still worked.
Yeah.
I'm rolling the windows up and there's no lag in it. So I'm like, it really doesn't seem like the battery's almost dead because everything's working electronically except turning on. And then I flicked the headlights on and off one time, and then I started it. It starts right up. My mother-in-law's face. I was like, I'm so sorry.
That's funny, dude.
She ended up taking the kids to her house to hang out for a while my wife and I took the car back and messed around with it at our place and got all the way back home, and it started again like 3 or 4 other times, and on like the 4th or 5th time it didn't start again. Couldn't get it started again once we were home. I was like, well, it's home. I can work on it here, whatever. And it ended up being the starter. The starter was dead.
Okay.
So I got a part yesterday, replaced it this morning before I came over here, and it started up 5 times. Hopefully my wife hasn't tried to start it and it's dead since then. But I'm hoping that's what it was. Yeah. Saved ourselves a trip to the garage there.
Good. Very good.
But anyway.
Nice. Yeah, you got it. Dude, if you ever have a transportation problem ever again, you got to let me know, dude. I'll put wings on it, bro. I'll be there in a second.
Well, we were also planning on hanging out at their house anyway for the afternoon. So it was like, take the kids over there. They can still have hangout time while we figure out the car situation. So
yeah. All right, cool. Good enough.
But I was thinking of the brothers. I would have called one of y'all to come and at least run me to the parts store if it was a battery issue. That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, if we think it's the battery, I'll get one of them to come get me a battery and we'll swap that out here. But I didn't have any tools either, so it was a moot point.
That's the irony of that situation is how good of a church that is to have a car problem in the parking lot.
What's funny is I watched Matthew drive away while I was...
You just watch the army of people who could fix your car drive away, and you're like, oh, nice, see you guys later. And as they're just right out of earshot, no.
It's dead.
It's dead. Yeah.
Well, I almost waved Matthew down as he was driving away.
Man.
But I was like, I don't think he'll be able to help here, Anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't know. His parents, they lived 10 minutes away. You probably could have run
They
home
also,
and, Yeah. Whatever. It worked out. All's well.
Didn't end up needing him. But
yeah. Did you get your lunch? Did you get a big fat lunch in?
What did we get for lunch? No, we just kind of like snacked, and then we had a good afternoon anyway.
You did get your
had our family movie time and
Okay,
ice cream. We made it by.
Nice. There you go. Good. Happy ending. All right. Well, that's a fun story about, dude, the car safety thing is very funny. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's do
Yeah, his reaction to it was especially funny.
Yeah.
Dude, what if I was getting robbed?
Yeah. What if I needed this to go? Yeah.
Put the hood down while you're getting beat by mobsters, by thugs.
By thug. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the
Hold him off, honey. I gotta close the hood.
yeah.
Oh, now
I know
the
you
back's
just
open.
gave birth.
Then the back's open. Yeah.
Kick him. Yeah.
Kick 'em. Yeah, what is this? A release? Yeah.
Oh, I have to tell it? What do I have to rub it? I have to say, you're fine, little car, to make sure its feelings are good?
Hood down.
Yeah. Damn, dude, that's crazy. Okay. Couch cushions?
Yeah.
All right, let's
Couch
do
cushions.
it. Guys,
Lead us off.
this is it. You know the drill. Recommendations for an old thing, a good thing. Mine is Legend.
We're delving into the 80s. We both got an 80s rec today.
Nice.
Good old 80 movies.
Good old 80s movies.
Uh-huh. Yes, sir.
Legend. Were you born in the 80s?
88.
That's crazy, dude. You are so old. It always blows
I was
my
telling
mind.
my wife yesterday is that like my main group of friends at this church, I am the oldest
Yeah.
in this group of friends.
Hey, how much older are you
I
than
said
Chris?
from Brian, I guess. So I take that back. 2 years, I think.
Okay, so not that much older.
No, not that much.
We got a good spread. We
do. But it is odd because it makes me feel like I'm older than I actually am.
You're pretty old, bro.
Yeah, well,
You probably just are starting to feel. You're starting to feel as old as you are right now. Is what's happening. It's setting in.
maybe.
Yeah, just kidding.
See, it's that kind of talk that makes me feel older. I'm gonna watch out for these guys. It's gonna be the death of me. Gonna die at 50 and be like, I had a good long life.
Great. I'm ancient. Yeah,
I'm ancient.
I'm 200 years old.
But everyone kept telling me.
Yeah.
We're surprised you made it this long,
Yeah.
Jason.
Legend, 1980 something.
85.
85. Great movie. Phenomenal movie. Very simple fantasy movie. The villain in it is literally just called Darkness.
There you go.
And he's just the devil. Like there's no creativity. He's just the devil. He's got big devil horns. It's played by Tim Curry, who's incredible. Tim Curry will die the man, dude. He's so good. Tom Cruise, main character, got a sword, got to save the princess, got to stop the bad guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
That's the story. He
Nice.
wants Darkness, just wants
classic.
everything to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
They want everything to be good. Darkness is going to make everything bad by killing all the unicorns. Tom Cruise
Never heard of this movie.
Tom Cruise has to stop him from killing all the unicorns. Phenomenal movie. Great ending. The thing that will always be burned into my mind is watching the ending of that movie when they're in they're in the dark fort, whatever. And the way that the way it all plays out is just it's so cool. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Very good movie. Main character's got a sidekick. The princess is pretty and kidnapped, needs to be saved. All around just solid.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're going to watch it with your kids, because I think you probably should, but I would say watch it first. You know your kids. There's definitely a couple things in there that would be considered scary. A couple of the bad guys and the darkness himself is like, I definitely could see a little kid being like, I'm going to have nightmares for weeks. So watch it first by yourself, and then decide if your kids are equipped to handle that. My daughter certainly would not be. I would not watch that with my daughter right now. So just keep that in mind. But it's also a fantastic date night watch. So like, it's a great sit down with your wife with a popcorn and a pizza, watch the movie. For sure, probably going to get some sweet hand action with your wife.
What?
Dude, the thing what's your favorite part of date night? As the husband, what's your favorite part of date night?
Oh, just cuddling on the couch with the.
That's your favorite part?
We don't have many dates.
Oh. My favorite part is the sex. That's my favorite part.
Oh, okay.
That's nice. My favorite part is getting done with the date. My wife goes, it was so wonderful and beautiful. Thank you for taking me to dinner and the movie, whatever. And I go, I know, I'm pretty great. I just showered.
Yeah.
Guess what that means?
I suppose there's that. Here I'm looking up the Parents Guide on Legend.
Oh, yeah.
I get hit with that. That's part of why I was so shocked.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, do you mean holding hands?
Nope. Well, she's holding something.
He doesn't mean that.
No. Nope. All right. What do you got? Hit us. Hit me.
I have a 1987 movie, sci-fi adventure movie called Inner Space.
I don't think I've ever heard of this one.
Inner Space. It has Dennis Quaid and Martin Short and Meg Ryan in it.
Still not ringing any bells.
Yeah, so Dennis Quaid plays a pilot, and they have this experimental. They develop some sort of shrinking technology, and so they have this craft that is made to be able to go inside the human body.
Okay.
I can't remember the premise. It might be that, like, for medical intervention and whatnot, then you can shrink people down and go inside to actually fix people from the inside. That might be why. Yeah. Anyway, evil organization also devises a similar machine, but for evil purposes or whatever.
They make it gets
or they're
big.
trying to steal the technology. They're trying to steal the technology.
Yeah.
I think that's not important, really.
Right.
Evil organization trying to steal the technology to shrink this machine down. Dennis Quaid is the pilot of this little submarine type thing. It has like a laser on it for cutting through blood vessels and whatnot, and it's like a submarine basically that travels through the bloodstream of the body.
Yeah.
So he volunteers for this. He gets shrunk down, and they put him in a syringe because they're going to inject him into a rabbit. That's the experimental flight, right? Is into this rabbit, who's named, I think he's named Bugs,
nice.
like Bugs Bunny.
Yep.
So Dennis Quaid goes into this thinking everything's going well, and the lab gets raided just as he gets like put in the syringe, and so they're like shooting scientists and whatnot trying to get this syringe, and the one scientist grabs the syringe and like runs out, and so the bad guys are chasing him, and he's they've already set up Martin Short's character. He's like this extremely anxious. You know who Martin Short is?
No.
Okay. I don't know if I could know. He's he's extremely animated, goofy, comedic actor. He's unmistakable.
I'll keep my phone away from this so I don't.
Yeah, look up some other roles. But anyway, Martin Short, he plays this he's like a checker at a grocery store.
Yeah. Martin Short.
Yeah, so he plays an extremely.
Boom, Martin Short.
Yeah, very funny. So he's this just.
Dude,
nervous
he's great,
wreck.
dude. He's awesome.
So he plays a nervous wreck in this movie.
Yes.
Just can't even handle his like checking job. He's like afraid of like disease and everything else. And his manager's like, just go home, take a couple of days off, or what, come on back, when you're ready and whatnot. So he's like leaving the grocery store. Yeah, I'm gonna go take a vacation or whatever. And then this scientist who's just been shot like stumbles up to him and injects him in the butt with this. With this Dennis Quaid microscopic submarine into his butt. Yeah. And then just like keels over and dies. So he's like, he's just freaking out. Yeah. Dennis Quaid wakes up after the shock of being thrown in there and is like navigating through the body, still thinks he's in a rabbit. Yeah. Goes up and clamps onto like the eardrum with a special device so that he can talk to Martin Short's character. Yeah. And he like goes up to his eye. Martin Short goes to a doctor or whatever while he's in the doctor's office. Oh, because he can hear him. Yeah. So he goes to the ear first and is like talking to him, and Martin Short thinks he's going crazy. Yeah. And he's like, I hear like little voice and whatnot, in my head. And the doctor's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then so that he can see what the bunny is seeing, Dennis Quaid goes up and like fires this little harpoon into the back of his eye. And so all of a sudden Martin Short's just like, right in the doctor's office. He's like, it feels like someone just shoved a red hot poker through the back of my eye. And they're like, oh my goodness. And then Dennis Quaid is just like, when did bugs get so big? He's like trying to figure this out. And so eventually they straighten this out, and he convinces him he's not he's not going crazy, and that he's he's inside, Martin Short and whatnot, and now the bad guys have figured this out, and they're after Martin Short. This poor nervous guy has this evil organization chasing him down.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get in contact with, just enlarge him, because he has limited, Dennis Quaid's character has like a limited supply of oxygen and whatnot. He won't survive in here long term. Eventually, Martin Short's character gets captured. They inject there's like this evil bad guy who has like I don't know if he has like a claw. Oh, I know. He has one mechanical arm. He doesn't speak.
Excellent.
And he has like a hand with different attachments that do, like one's a little flamethrower and whatnot.
Perfect.
It's phenomenal.
Yes.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
So funny. And so I won't tell the rest of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Good.
And yeah, so it's a
Inner
comedic
Space.
action sci-fi movie.
Nice.
Inner Space. Check it out.
Very good.
All right.
Nice. Moving on, guys. Sorry, we're going to have to make this one quick, by the way. We always end up having to make the second one quick. We got plan
things
better.
to do. We got work to do.
Um,
Can't all be about you guys.
That's right.
Sorry.
Quit being so greedy with our time.
Yeah. Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
Thanks for watching, by the way.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. If you pay us,
I think
I bet
there's
we'll-
like way more views than there are subscriptions. So click the subscribe button, please.
on whatever. Yeah,
Get
we're
your
trying
email
to.
on there.
I'm all in on the YouTube. I want. The
Yeah, I
YouTube
think
one.
now that we're video,
Yeah.
subscribe on YouTube or Substack.
Yeah, wherever you want to. Guys.
Transition.
Yeah, we got to transition here. I have to transition, dude. I'm still I'm nickied out, bro. I'm all jittery.
They're all jitty.
I'm all jitty. What we're going to talk about today? Oh yeah, this is what we're going to talk about. So, guys, I had some conflict at my last job, and
A little bit.
little bit of conflict. One of the things was that I was never told what this even meant. So I got a complaint, and this is another thing. You're not all right. Whatever. We'll talk. I'm gonna. Sorry. Again, jittery. I'm having a hard time focusing and like breaking things down. I'm like, all right, step by step. Step one. All right. Here it is. Step one. I had a complaint at work that I was dressed inappropriately around customers. Okay. Now, now, was I wearing assless chaps? Did I have a nose ring in? Did I have visible...
Half a face tattoo?
Yeah. Was there? No. How was I dressed for the occasion that they must have been talking about? I had a golf polo on, not much unlike this one here. I was wearing some form of nice pant with cowboy boots, nice ostrich skin cowboy boots that I wear to church and to weddings and funerals. And
Dress boots.
Dress boots.
Not work boots.
Not work boots. No hat.
You had a baseball cap.
I did have a baseball cap on, yes.
Yep. There you go.
Yep. And that's what...
Strike one.
That's the only thing, after talking to my boss and my dad, who's in the same field.
Were you
works
wearing
in
it
the same
backwards?
company. Nope, straight. I was just
okay.
wearing like a good old classic American white boy. Nice hat on.
Not trying to imitate the blacks?
Not trying to be a youth of the city.
Youths.
A city youth. I was being a good old country boy. And so there are several problems here. Several problems arose from this, okay? One, absurd. All right? The customers were wearing ratty T-shirts with stains. They're tech guys. They're IT guys. So they're all fat, slovenly, hair unfixed, all wearing hoodies and T-shirts. They look like crap. All right? Now, you want to be... You're a sales guy. You want to represent correctly, whatever. All the sales guys always have nice hair, done well. They're wearing pressed clothes. They don't look slovenly. They look clean cut, right? Now, that's what I looked like, clean cut. The only sort of thing here that could have occurred was that while I was clean cut, I was not dressed like a tech work conventioner with soulless, gay little leather tennis shoes and stupid, the way these guys dress. It doesn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me if the way I dress didn't bother them. But I'm dressed fine. I dress in slightly different clothes with slightly different brands. I'm not wearing polyester. I'm not wearing athletic polyester polo shirts. I'm wearing like old vintage golf shirts that are made from cotton. Yeah. Yeah. My appearance is a slight. The point is that my appearance is a very slight deviation from what they are all wearing. Very slight deviation. That is too much for these people. Okay.
You're a nonconformist.
I am not. They are so on guardrails that they can't go 1, 2, 5% off of what they see every day, or they have mental breakdowns. Okay. And then they tattle on you. All right. Now that's problem number 2. Tattling is insane. We are all adults. We are making a ton of money. We're all professionals.
Go talk to somebody man to man.
Go talk to me man to man, dude. And you could come up to me and go, "What are you, retarded? You're a fool. Don't ever come to one of my meetings like that, dressed like that again."
Take the hat off.
Yeah, you could say that right to my face, and I go, geez, Will, I'm sorry. Or whoever, geez, John. Okay, man, no problem. What do you want me to wear next time? That's what I would do. I'd laugh. I'd go, I am a retard. Yeah, all right, I'll wear something different. That's what I would do. I'd do something like that. I wouldn't get upset. So if you came to me and were like, "Hey, man, just by the way, that did bother me that you had a hat on, or that your shirt was this way, or that whatever, I'm this kid that tattled."
But no,
on
we
me.
got to go.
Yeah, now we got to do this.
All
we got to
way
get
around
people's
and talk.
bosses involved and make it official, and it's got to be in writing.
Got to go in the file.
Yeah, I got to go in the file. And this kid's from Boston. The kid that tattled on me is from Boston. So he doesn't get cowboy boots.
Should be a lot more direct.
That's what I thought, right? But this kid, this is the kid
ashamed
who's
of Boston
bragging about
heritage.
cheating on his wife and stuff.
Yeah.
That guy. The
Class act.
The stoner retard. I actually don't know that kid was the one who tattled on me, but I talked to everybody else.
He's number one suspect.
Yeah, they all didn't do it. So he's the number one suspect. So he tattled on me, okay? And then here's problem number 3. When it was brought to me, I said, "What's going on?" I was not allowed to be told the details of what I wore that was inappropriate. I was not allowed to be told who complained about me. I was not allowed to be told anything about the situation. So I couldn't even fix it. If there was a problem,
just do it differently.
Just be different. And I go,
by which we mean be the same.
Yeah, be the same as all of us. Yeah.
Ethan, why aren't you a drone?
Yes, Ethan, why didn't you live out that episode of SpongeBob where he gets rid of all of his holes and shows up like a fudge pop going, "Hey, how's it going?" Why can't you be that way? And so there were a lot of challenging issues for me on that one. And I had a lot of conflict where I was having some hard conversations with people going, "Guys, this is crazy. You all understand that this is crazy, right? Like this is
no.
Yeah, I was like, this is like borderline personality disorder. Somebody needs to go see a professional. Someone's unstable. What are we doing here? We scheduled a meeting for this. Someone wrote an email for this. What's happening?"
Wasted hundreds of dollars of time.
Yeah. Isn't this one
thousands, given how many people were involved?
Yeah. Isn't this one of the biggest companies on the face of the planet? This is a serious organization, is it not? Why are we acting so unseriously? This is insane. And here's the problem. That is what people in that environment acting very seriously looks like. It is extremely, extremely, extremely feminine. And so I wrote something. I don't know that it's worth reading. Yeah, I'll read it just because it'll be a lot easier than me stammering around trying to explain kind of the issue with this here. So here's the thing. I want to draw a juxtaposition because I don't want to put in the heads of young men that corporate America is this innately vile, retarded place that is not worth engaging in. There's plenty of great work to be done there, and there's a ton of great money to be made. And you can build a very fulfilling, very serious, very impactful career in corporate America. It's a wonderful place to go build an occupational life. So I don't want people to think
Just right off corporate. America.
I don't want you throwing out the baby with the bathwater here. And so I think what I wrote down here is a good way to draw that juxtaposition. So, I've realized why I'm so adverse to standards of dress in the workplace right now. So like in the modern era. In a masculine system, in a correctly ordered system, one might sacrifice their individuality to signal group cohesion for efficiency, to do away with superfluous, needless complication, so that he and the group he belongs to can focus on the task at hand. And that is good. However, in the current system, which is overly feminized, everyone, especially those men interested in their own way of doing things, are made to put up with all manner of superfluous inefficiency and needless complexity, like HR departments and women in the workplace. Thus, a dress code of any sorts, officially enforced or otherwise, is not aimed at signaling efficiency, but aimed at signaling compliance. That I can skip. The feminine system's dress code is yet another tool to force compliance with the ridiculous, so that the worker may render himself a good boy and a proper wretched slug, so that the system may know he will not stand up against the absurd, or stand up against absurdity, because the system is fundamentally absurd, and that absurdity must persist in order for the system to persist. So it is not, in other words, suits. Before there was women in the workplace, there were dress suits in every office. It didn't matter if you were at IBM. It didn't matter if you were a banker. It didn't matter if you were in the offices of a manufacturing company. It didn't matter. Everybody wore a suit. And that was done to signify to everyone, without actually having to say anything, that you were going to play ball. You were going to play by the rules. Mm-hmm. And so no one had to think, are you a weird, messed up freak who's going to say something strange to my customers or do something wrong and get everyone killed? You are signaling to us that you are going to play the game as we have all decided it should be played. That is the use and practical application of a dress code. And everybody wore suits. Okay? Now, Apple came along, women came along, and the idea of this like stuffy, you have to have a suit, that gets tossed out the window and destroyed. Everybody's going to express their individuality and dress. Steve Jobs is going to come in linen and no shoes on. Like that's, this, we're going to do this. Okay. The problem is that you still have to have a dress code. You still have to have this, like,
he's with us
team. You still have to have that, right? In a feminine system, nothing can be enforced directly. Everything has to be enforced passively. No one can have direct conflict. You can't have shouting matches in offices that end in handshake and, hey, we did it.
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah. And
leave. Can't have that. That can't happen. That's hostile. That's toxic. Instead, everything has to be arbitrated. There has to be what's not indifferent, but what's another word for indifferent? You have to have a third party.
Oh.
Who's removed. You're going to come
non-partisan?
Non-partisan person come in and arbitrate this agreement and help with conflict resolution. Like that all, you can't just be two men sitting down, hashing out the problem and getting it done. That can't happen anymore because here's why. Because that exact situation would have to happen with a woman and a man. And that's not tolerable. Not to me, not to Jason, not to anybody in an office, not to a woman, not to a man. It's inappropriate. It would be inappropriate
for a man and a woman to be
for a
shouting
man and
at
woman
each other.
to be having a masculine if this does not go well, we are going to fight type conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? That is not appropriate.
It doesn't work.
Yes, it doesn't work. So everything has to be enforced in a way that removes any real conflict. So no real conflict can occur. So everything gets made that way. Now, factor in on the other side the fact that the economy is fundamentally made to scam. That's what exists right now. Everything is fraudulent. Everything is designed to address the fact that the Fed prints money and is stealing it from you secretly. Okay, that is the entire economy is oriented towards that simple fact that the Fed prints money out of thin air and thus steals value from you via inflation. The entire global economy is designed to steal money from the American worker and distribute it to poor people and to non-American poor people, American poor people, and the rich. That is what it is designed to hollow out the working class. That is what it is for. Okay? In order to protect that lie, you have to increasingly lie. You have to keep lying and keep lying and keep lying and keep lying. Eventually, the lies will just get absurd. Anybody who's dealt with a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old knows that within 3 or 4 rounds of questioning, the lies get to, it was a big bug. He was huge, and I had to eat the cookie, or this praying mantis the size of our house was going to eat me. Yeah. Like it almost immediately gets there, right? So you get the lies stack very quickly, and they get to absurdity very, very quickly. Now, one of the other things that happens, back to the micro kind of in the workplace, when you cannot be direct, when your entire life, your work life is oriented around not being direct, you have to lie in order to obfuscate. Because you cannot just say, I'm not going to tell you who reported this. Because now you are making a direct statement.
Yeah.
You are now throwing the gauntlet down and giving the person, the counterparty, the opportunity to say, get ready, fuck you. That's not an acceptable answer to me. I need you to tell me who it is. Conflict, right? That can't happen. So what you get is these political HR ladies who have tight, like Repo Man, the guy in Repo Man who has all these faces stapled to his head, these tight, insane, monstrous, twisted faces, because they're so anxious from how many lies they're always telling. You get these disgusting gargoyle ponytail. The skin of their body is held up by this ponytail that's tied so tight it would pull you inside out from your butthole if you had a ponytail that tight on your head. You'd go like this. You'd tear in half. You go and suck into a black hole at the top of this ponytail. That's how tight this ponytail's tighted. Okay, these gargoyle creatures, they're designed specifically to lie.
It's pretty tight.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. So these HR ladies, they come in and they say things like, instead of saying a statement as simple as, it would be inappropriate for me to tell you who said this, you would say, who said that about me? Who made this complaint? I would like to understand the nature of the complaint. Well, see, Ethan, the problem, so listen, in this environment, what we like to do is we want to make sure that things move smoothly and that people feel that they have the trust that they can trust us to complain. They can trust us if they feel uncomfortable, if they can trust us to say this or that or whatever. And then you go, I feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable right now. I don't feel like I can trust any of my coworkers. I know at this point right now, I think all of my coworkers are watching me and monitoring my behavior as if this is 1984 and I'm being reported to the party. And then they go, well, and now we're at line number 2, okay? Now we're at line number 2 for her. Well, you see, that's not the case, Ethan, because really what it's about is it's about cooperation and collaboration. And what we want here is to make sure that everything is, that people, that we're putting our best foot forward and that this is what's going on right now. We're already stammering, okay? We're already saying gobbledygook. And then I go, well, how can I collaborate if I can't trust anybody? I don't trust my peers. So what should I do?
Well.
Yeah. All right. So now we're getting further and further into absurdity, right? So you are signaling now to the hive mind, to the system, you will not tolerate absurdity, because what the HR lady wants is
you must be eliminated.
Yeah.
You got to be purged.
You must be purged. What the HR lady is designed to do is to feed you a line of crap that you will then willingly eat from a plate in front of her so that she can pat you on the head and go, now, didn't that fecal matter taste good? And then you go, oh yeah, it did great. Thank you. Can I have my paycheck? And then they'll leave, and then they'll go back to their boss and say, he ate the whole pile of crap so well, like a good boy. And they'll go, great.
And he licked my boot.
Yeah, and he licked my boot. Great. And you go, great. This little butt slug will do whatever we tell him to do. He can stay. He's a good boy. Right? And now that's the system that exists today, because it's not about producing anything. It's about everyone keeping their head down long enough for the people at the top to steal everything. That's what it's about. Okay? 50 years ago, 70 years ago, that is not the case. 100 years ago, that was not the case. People had to produce in order to make money. So it was about producing. And so what you had to do was efficient. You had to have efficiency. So you couldn't have people coming in, lying, slowing things down, being bureaucrats, making you sign papers, wanting to arbitrate everything, having 10 meetings for nothing. You couldn't do that. Those people would get beaten and then kicked out of the company. They'd get immediately ejected. Now that doesn't exist anymore. So when you have something, and here's the thing. When you're put in a situation like this, you want to be able to evaluate whether or not what you're dealing with is absurdity, or whether or not what you're dealing with is an actual problem that you have that you need to correct. Okay. One of the great ways, this is to continue to break down my statement that I read earlier. One of the great ways to tell whether or not you are being forced to deal with absurdity in order to signal your own compliance, or whether or not you're actually having a malfunction, is to look at whether or not there is what they are saying the problem is here, is that problem a bigger problem somewhere else that no one is acknowledging? Because if it is, what that means is no one's actually interested in solving this problem. What everyone's actually interested in is getting you to shut up. All right? So that's why I said, if dress codes are about signaling efficiency and compliance, or signaling efficiency and going, hey, you guys don't have to worry about me. I'm on the same team, whatever. We don't have to worry about our personal lives. Let's just worry about getting the job done, right? If that's what the dress code is about, if that's what it's about, then why are there women here? What are they doing here? Not working. They're never working. They're walking around talking, asking if we can turn the AC up because it's too cold in the office. Look that article up. All right. What are they doing? Women? Here's what I've said. I've said for years that Elon Musk doesn't have to worry about terraforming Mars. He can just load a rocket full of the world's worst send it up there, and they'll nag Mars into compliance. They'll get to Mars and they'll go, why is it so cold? Where's all the oxygen? I want more greenery. And Mars will go, goodness gracious, fine. And he'll grow hair on his head, and he'll grow oxygen. He'll find an atmosphere. He'll go, please shut up. And that's what women do in an office. They go, he said this to me, and I don't think this way. And the air is too cold, and we should have more swag. And why don't there's not enough community? Let's have more events. That's what women do in an office, okay? They don't get anything done. They don't get anything done. Ever. Sometimes they make good managers, good middle managers, because they're nurturing and they're very good at just doing superfluous bureaucratic crap endlessly for no reason. That's why women make good managers, because the people that are actually doing stuff, working, can be shielded from all the regulatory compliance, all the paperwork that needs to be done and everything by this lady who's just, I'm checking boxes. I have a pencil. I'm a good student. So they do that well. And then they do a good job of coming in and be like, how do you feel? Are you okay? And then the person can have a moment of catharsis and be like, this is stressing me out, whatever. And then go, okay, great. And then walk away and never repeat it ever again to any leadership or ever change anything. That is it. That is their only good function in a place of work. All right. So if the assertion you're making to anyone is that this is about creating cohesion in the workplace, then why do we have opposite sexes in the workplace? That's pretty incohesive. That's going to cause some problems. HR departments didn't have to exist when it was just men. They literally didn't exist. Look it up. That was not a position you could hold. That was not a function in any company. They just operated. And as soon as women got involved, HR departments were created. It's insane. All right. So that's what I mean by absurdities like HR departments and women in the office. Okay. If you have a much bigger representation of the problem that the person is coming at you about in the company, then what that is signaling logically is that they are not concerned with solving that problem. They are concerned with getting you to shut up. So if somebody comes to you and says you're dressed inappropriately and you aren't, if you're showing up unshowered, you smell like crap, and you're wearing sneakers with holes in them, and you are covered in like gang tattoos and stuff, and somebody comes to you and says, hey man, this is inappropriate. Yeah, you're in the wrong. All right. But if you're in a situation where the thing you're being confronted with is absurd, then what is happening to you is that you are being made to deal with absurdity. All right. Now, this is the point of this entire episode, because I've been ranting a lot. So I'll make the point out of it.
You want me to? So the HR departments were started to address the challenges and needs that emerged during the early 20th century, particularly during the Industrial Revolution and the subsequent labor unrest. So in other words, Industrial Revolution equalizes the workforce so that women can then do manufacturing jobs.
Right. So now there's women in the workforce. Now HR departments have to exist.
It doesn't outright say that, of course.
Of course it does. Of course it can't. I mean, of course it doesn't.
No.
Yeah. One of the things that I was going to mention about, well, I'm not going to, I don't want to burn up too much time. Here's the point of what we're talking about. Cause I don't know if you guys can tell yet. I have an authority problem. I have a really big problem with people telling me what to do. It is going to be very helpful for you in life to develop the skill to be able to tell when anti-authoritarianism, when your desire to exert your own will, when your desire to stand up for things, it is going to be very helpful for you to be able to tell when that's outright rebellion, which is sinful, and when it is moral and good. And the reason that is because it is much easier to fall on your sword when you know you are in the right than it is when you're unsure. So if you're sitting there going, man, I can't tell if this is my problem or their problem, it's going to make you feel very scared. It's going to make you're not going to feel confident going into whatever meeting you're having, going into whatever conversation you're about to have. And if you are going to make the claims that you are going to have to make, if you're going to force these people whose entire existence is designed around feeling as comfortable as possible and never being in conflict, if you're going to force them into conflict, you are going to have to do so with a level of confidence that is Andy Elliott in its nature. You are basically going to have to be so confident in that room that you force into their conscious minds doubt about their positions. And so if you have doubt about what you're doing, it's going to be very, very hard to have these conversations and come out on top. And it's also very, very hard to tell what you want. Like, what are you trying to gain from this conversation? From standing up and saying, I'm not wearing boots. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. They're boots. You'll be fine. Everyone will be fine. So it's very, very, very important to be able to tell the difference between when it is time to stand up and when it's time to actually change your behavior. And inversely, if you can't tell when it's, and this has been my problem for a long time, actually, which is, in the past, I'm a young guy, and a lot of this will come with age. You'll be more assertive as you get older, this kind of stuff. When I was younger, I had a really hard time being able to tell when it was right and when it was wrong for me to stand up.
Sure.
And I would get scared, and so I wouldn't stand up. Now, here's the problem.
And sometimes then you would stand up. One might stand up without being properly ordered, and you get smacked back down
you look
for
like
it.
An idiot. Yeah, you look like a fool. Yeah.
And you go, oh, I guess I didn't have a good reason for doing that.
Yeah. I guess I was wrong. Yeah. If you comply out of fear because you don't understand the nature of your own position, that will create for you resentment. resentment towards your boss, resentment towards your own life, resentment towards yourself for not standing up for yourself. And eventually you will become just like all of those people who are motivated by resentment and fear. That is what you will become. You will become them. So it's not just helpful to know when it's time to stand up and know when it's time to sit down so that when you stand up, you can stand up properly. It is also good to know when it's time to stand up and when it's time to sit down so that you can sit down properly, so that you can be quiet and humble when it's time to be quiet and humble, and just deal with your shame, go to God, leave that at his door and go, I messed up, whatever. And then you can move on and act properly in the workplace, act properly in whatever team you're in, right? It's helpful in both directions. But the title of this episode is No Boys Allowed, because it is extremely difficult to navigate the world today because it is so feminized, and men, especially men who are direct, men who have a hard time playing politics, it's very, very hard to understand the chessboard that's in front of you. And all the moving pieces and all the obfuscation, and when your boss is doing, like, who's lying to you, who's not, it's very, very difficult. And so the only way I know how to do this is just to immerse yourself in this environment and just get burned over and over again until you've learned, till the naivete of your mind has been burned off and you've just learned, you've got a good gut instinct for when people are lying to you, when someone's acting like a woman. And I don't mean, by the way, I'll add one caveat here. I don't mean just women in their natural state. I mean fallen women, out of balance women. Obviously, Jason and I, big fans of the ladies, but big fans of ordered Christian girls. That's what we like. That's how we interact. We interact with these girls well.
That's what God likes.
That's what God likes, right? Women are amazing. Okay, women are amazing. But women, as they are today, not amazing. But neither are men, all right? Men are in their own dire situation too. So everybody's got their own problems. Okay. So I'll back off girls for a second on this because I know I've been going really hard, but, it's very, very important for your career. All right. And this is called work hard. It's very, very important for your career that, because of the era that we live in being so feminized, the only place that you're not going to have to deal with this kind of meta behavior is like on a construction site, basically. And even then, most of these guys are going to be so whipped and destroyed by their wives that they're going to come in and act like that anyways. So it's extremely difficult to figure this stuff out. And there's no way that I can communicate unless you've been in it and saturated by it and experienced it. It's very hard for me to communicate the depth and like pervasiveness of this problem. Like, you're going to be, even if you're 19, you're hearing this now, you get an accounting job, you go into the workforce, you're at an office, at a big corporate office in Dallas or whatever, for the next six years. At the end of that 6 years, you're going to remember this episode and go, dude, it's so much worse than he even described. It's so pervasive, and it saturates every interaction. Everyone is acting like they have this, like someone's going like this to them.
Yeah.
Gun to their head. It's bizarre and inhumane, and people behave in extremely odd ways that seem psychologically unhinged, and it's very, very difficult to cope with it. It's been very difficult for me to cope with it. It ultimately led to me getting fired this time. It's been the thing that may make me unsuccessful in the corporate world, is this exact problem. It's hard for me to even sit here and say I've got, some sort of tips for you to engage with this thing. I don't know how to engage with it, but at this point I know when to point it out, say whatever.
Right. Hopefully Hyper Premium will be a way for us to build a space where that's not how things are run.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's really, you can't fight the monster when you're in the belly of the beast, really. Yeah. Because you'll just get purged.
Yeah, you get purged.
They've got that figured out.
Yeah, they do. It's like
you won't get high enough intact and be intact. Kind of like getting to be any high-level politician. You're so compromised. You had to compromise so much to get to that level that you're no longer in a position to even do anything about it.
Right.
Even if you'd gone into it with good intentions.
Yeah.
So I think it's very much we have to build build our own organization and combat it that way by just growing large and successful with a godly model.
Yeah.
And treating each other decently.
Yeah. There will be boxing gloves at the Hyper Premium office.
Nice.
And if there is a disagreement that gets so sincere that like two writers or developers cannot figure out a solution,
we'll get the gloves.
The solution will be whichever one of you wins this fight gets the thing that you want. And I'm not joking. That'll be the solution. Sue me.
Maybe there will be a ref. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. You get no nut shots. You get mouth guards.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. No kicking. You can't kick.
And you're off the clock so that workman's comp won't cover you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You have to go off property.
Yeah.
That's the HR department, is just making sure you're not on company property when you knock someone's tooth out. No, not here.
Yeah.
Go in the back alley.
Yeah.
2 feet from the door.
Yeah. Exactly 2 feet from the door. Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, listen. We're at time, I would imagine, right?
You got a minute and a half.
All right, minute and a half.
So yeah, we're at time.
We'll wrap it up. I know I was rambling there. I know that one. I hope that one's at least funny. I hope, or at least maybe empowering. You hear it and you go, "Yeah, I'm actually in this situation."
I don't know, shock some people out of a stupor.
Yeah, maybe
if they listened all the way through.
Yeah. So I know that one was a little rambly, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. I hope there's something to gain from it. But to tie a pretty bow on it, I hope, is to just say that we live in an absurd and expedient age full of fraudulent scam artists and butt slugs who are too scared to do anything about any of it, and who are only concerned with surviving long enough to gain
their boat.
To get like as the robber barons come in and rob and steal, there's an army of butt slugs underneath the table just hoping to survive long enough to get some scraps so they can run back to their little thing and eat and be fine. And that's most of the people you're going to interact with, are the people waiting for the scraps to fall. And so that is the age that we live in. Maybe we'll follow this episode up at another time when I've thought more about, developing strategies to survive through that, so that you can navigate that world. Unfortunately, so far, the only thing I've come up with is get out of it and, do exactly what Jason says, which is build an alternative where you can curate your own space. And
in the meantime, throw us $1 a month on
in the meantime,
on buyusacoffee.com.
Yeah.
We'll put the link in the description. I know we didn't last couple episodes, but we'll get that in there.
Yeah. So we live in an absurd and expedient age, and that is going to
then come and ask us for a job in 5-10 years.
yeah. And that is going to come. That's going to have a lot of. There are going to be a lot of consequences of that, and you just need to at least equip yourself with the ability to identify the issue, and given your specific scenario and what happened and who said this and where is it going and what part you're in your career, you can go to the people that you trust around you, kind of tell them what's going on and say, what do you think? And maybe together you can work out a good path forward. But you do need to at least be aware of this problem. And I haven't really seen anybody take this angle on it yet. I've seen all kinds of people disparage the corporate world and say that it's not functional or whatever, which I don't think is true. I think that's it's just another way humans organize themselves, and there's plenty of positive things about it. And if there is a way to work in it redeemably, then you should, because it's those are great jobs. Generally, they are great jobs. So guys, we love you. Please don't be unduly hostile. Okay. I know that I'm
really
abrasive. I know that I'm abrasive and screaming, but
this is behind closed doors. It's not how you operate in the office.
Yeah. You need to, you do need to treat
unless
people.
You're in the all male office of Hyper Premium.
Yeah, then you can yell.
Then you can get the gloves.
You want to treat people. Christ has instructed us to treat people as we would want to be treated. So if you are going to go to war with someone, you need to do so gently and with decorum, You are already going to make them feel very uncomfortable by drawing hard lines, and you need to prepare for that by trying to mitigate as much discomfort for them as you can without compromising your own position. So don't be cruel. Don't be rude. It is also, that's going to get you nowhere. You probably don't have much power to begin with anyways. And if you start acting a fool, everyone's going to turn on you, and the people with real power are going to come in and squash you like an ant instantly. So you're not going to get anything. But also it's just wrong to be unduly hostile. I'm very, very calm, and very nice when I'm having serious conflict with people, usually, unless they've signaled that they're
ready to fight.
They're bad actors, in which case I just go, all right.
Yeah, well, gloves off.
Yep, now we're fighting. Guys, just take that as a grain of salt as well. Love you guys. Please, get a good job, man, and hold on to it if you can. If you can hold on to a job without compromising yourself, do so. If you can't, walk away. The Lord will provide for you. But also find a church, find a wife. What are you supposed to do with that wife, Jason?
Have some babies.
Have some babies. Raise them to be Christian. Guys, we love you. We'll see you next week. Bye.